Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Woodford Square. Thank you very much, Christine, for that introduction. I had to walk the catwalk because there are 41 candidates, and they presented 40 and didn't present me. So I had to present myself because there's a candidate in Diego Martin West. And the name of that candidate is Christopher Rowley. So now we've got 41 candidates to represent the People's National Movement. Party Chairman, Mr. Franklin Khan, other party officers, starting with our Venerable Mrs. Joan Yule Williams, Deputy Political Leader, Party and Elections, Mr. Rohan Sinanan, Deputy Political Leader, Ms. Marlene MacDonald, Deputy Political Leader, Legislative, and the one and only from Tobago, from Palliative and Tobago, Mr. Orville London, Deputy Political Leader, Tobago Affairs, other party officers, mayors and chairmen, in particular the mayor of Port of Spain, who is hosting us here in the historic Woodford Square. Our distinguished visitors from New York, former Governor David Patterson and his friend and colleague, former Congressman Ed Towns, who in recent years have become my friends and my colleagues. We are particularly pleased to welcome you here to Trinidad and Tobago, the land, the place of birth of the many thousands of persons who you represented so ably in New York. But particularly and especially on this occasion, I would like to acknowledge my strength, my well, my deep resource, my wife, Sharon Clark Rowley, and the rest of the Rowley family sitting across there. And I would like to acknowledge all of you, PNM members, supporters, and the national community of Trinidad and Tobago. Not too long ago, we came to this square and we told you that we were preparing for government. Today, I can report to you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that the PNM is ready. When you put us out of office in 2010, as was your right, when you were dissatisfied with us, you said to us, go and come again. Well, we went to the vineyards, we tilled the soil, we pruned the vines, and we have come again. The PNM is ready. I want to make an observation here to change the conversation. That which says that our young people are not interested in their affairs and their future and politics. And for all those who have that point of view, I invite you, if you are not looking at Woodford Square, to come to Woodford Square and see the young people of Trinidad and Tobago. And I make this reference so that you can understand why we're fighting. Those of us from my generation, this country has already been good to us. We more than likely would have had the most this country have offered to us. But it is the future of the young ones which is really at stake. And alongside them, those who work very hard and today are our senior citizens and who built this country and whose future and quality of life could be at stake if we do not govern this country properly. So this campaign is about the young ones and the future, and the elderly who look forward to the country that they built being governed properly, and the PNM gives you that commitment. As I speak to you now, after 5 record budgets, the state of play in Trinidad and Tobago today is one of economic instability, financial instability, economic stagnation, and on the other side of the political divide, political instability. That's the landscape. And you ask yourself, what do you look forward to from those who would replace those who are in office? You look forward to decency in the corridors of power. You look forward to stability in government, because that will give your managers of state the best opportunity to give you the best opportunity to earn what the country has to offer based on your commensurate effort. You want stability in government. You want good behavior in government. You want the best competence in government. And that is what you can look forward to on September 8th. We say to you, elect the PNM on September 7th, and we will bring about cabinet reform. Very simple and straightforward. A smaller, more efficient, and focused cabinet. We say to you, elect the PNM on September 7th, and we will effect parliamentary reform, where the parliament will more effectively manage and oversee the affairs of state as it oversees the executive. Your parliament will function the way the Constitution says it should, which is to oversee the cabinet. We say to you that the budgeting process has outlived its usefulness. Coming to Parliament 1 week, having a debate, passing into law an appropriation bill that allows the government to spend, and then until the next budget, bye-bye budgeting process. We're saying that we need a new, a modern, and a continuous budgetary arrangement where we will now change the laws to allow the budgeting process to be an ongoing operation of observation, of monitoring, of supervision, and in enacting into law the outcome of budgeting by data. Budgeting by data, and data obtained by agencies such as the Central Statistical Office. One of the first things we will do is to bring back into being, very quickly, a stream of data from a semi-independent operating CSO. So you'll get truthful and meaningful data on unemployment, on every aspect of governmental operations, where you will know exactly what the numbers are saying, what the financial situation is, and therefore you will know what decisions to make as you make them regardless of what resources are available. We say to you that in 2015, the new PNM government will instruct the relevant officers of state to begin the process of implementing, by way of parliamentary arrangements in the end, new and effective and widespread local government reform. I ask you to respect the dead. Yes, as I say to you, one of the major reforms that you can look forward to, which begins with a new cabinet on September 8th, is local government reform. It means that we will remove the appointment of a local government minister. We will expand the role of local government, which means that those who are today working in local government will be working in a larger agency And there is no fear of losing jobs because we are expanding local government. And we are going to give local government far more resources and greater responsibilities to look after your local schools, your health units, your playgrounds, your dispersing of services, especially social service delivery, so that the monies allocated by Parliament would now be the responsibility of local government to dispense to people who qualify to get those monies. And because you are operating at the local level, you can more accurately direct those monies to the people who qualify to get that assistance. We will cut out waste, we'll cut out corruption, and we'll focus on the allocations of Parliament for those who are supposed to get it. We say at local government, the local government bodies would be required to operate a database, a human resource base, an unemployment exchange, so you will know exactly who is unemployed, what skills they have, and how we can direct government policy to assist them from where they are to where they want to be. And therefore, the allocations for support for the unemployed would be more effectively focused because we know exactly who we're dealing with. And of course, we will eliminate from those expenditures persons who don't belong in there. And of course, the whole question of looking after the elderly, ensuring that they get their pension checks on time. You don't have to call the minister about that and the permanent secretary. That will be a local government function because the local government will now be functioning directly towards the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance will make arrangements for local government bodies to operate in that way. And I'm not inventing any wheel here, I'm only expanding what we've learned. We've learned in Tobago that at the local level, people can manage their affairs better than having it managed for them somewhere else. And as we do that reform for local government in Trinidad, we also commit to the people of Tobago that we will ensure that the next cabinet, very early in its tenure, in its first year, bring before the cabinet for discussion, for adjustment, but for effective operations of the whole quest in Tobago, once and for all, as a people in Trinidad and Tobago, to finalize this question of internal self-government for the people of Tobago. So, as we do that, these changes, these very significant changes, are what you can look forward to when you vote on September 7th. You're not voting simply to put people out of office. They have already put themselves out of office. You are voting to put the PNM into office with a work program like that. You are voting for industrial expansion. I told the people of La Brea not too long ago that while we will not be pursuing any aluminium smelter, because this government ensured that that is not on the radar, we will be pursuing expansion by way of industries such as the plywood industry in La Brea, where we import wood products from South America and we use our own energy and our own adhesives, and very soon, one day not too far, Trinidad and Tobago will be exporting plywood to the region and to North America. Those kinds of things we've been doing. Looking at the market outside to see what they use and to see what we can supply. We will look to see what Tobago can expand into while preserving its character of clean, green, and serene, being a model destination for tourism and also industry that is in keeping with that kind of ambition for Tobago. So together, Trinidad and Tobago will move forward in a way that we haven't moved for quite some time. We commit to building an A-class road from Valencia to Toco. We can build a road in this country, and we will build one from Valencia to Toco as part of our national infrastructure plan. And we will build a ferry port in Toco, and that will draw Trinidad and Tobago together like nothing else has ever done. And the economy of Eastern Trinidad and Tobago will change for the better and for good. And we will do that and similar development in infrastructure by accessing what is available to us at the IDB. We have been a member of the IDB since the 60s, and we qualify to borrow significant sums from the IDB on very favorable terms, but not for MPs to thief, not to waste and give away, but to spend on economic infrastructure development, and the PNM will do that. In the education system, we are convinced that notwithstanding our annual largest expenditure item in the national budget, we are not getting a commensurate output from the education system. And that too many of our young people are passing through schools, while others are concerned about the buildings, the school buildings, and the health buildings. From the 8th of September, we will acknowledge that we have the buildings, but the government going forward would be concerned about what goes on inside the buildings. We'll be concerned about what goes on inside the hospital, what goes on inside the school, because the buildings are not in themselves a solution to any problem. They are an opportunity to deal with what has to be dealt with inside the school system. And we say that notwithstanding all we are doing now at the primary, secondary, and tertiary level, we will refocus our resources and our attention on the primary school system and make some significant changes to our curriculum and our teaching at the primary school level to break that cycle of the unprepared citizen in Trinidad and Tobago. We will use all the expertise available to us, those on the payroll now and those who are retired, who can still contribute on this exercise. We have a lot of people who know what to do. We are going to do what we know what to do. And what we want out of this exercise is that when the next generation of people come out of primary school, they would have been already prepared and grounded with the relevant values that they will take into the secondary schools. And this thing about rights without responsibility and behavior without consequence will be changed from the primary school into the secondary school and into the universities. That is how we'll change our people. And we do that and not come and boast about how many millions we have spent and how many items we have built, but we boast as to how we would have changed the lives of the citizen by encouraging a better citizenry in Trinidad and Tobago. As I mentioned earlier on in Arima, to start that process, we will ensure that every one of our children is grounded in the history of Trinidad and Tobago from primary school going forward. Because if you don't know your history, then you are vulnerable to be taken here, there, and everywhere, buffeting in all the storms of lies that others will feed you. And of course, we of the PNM are not standing here because we met together in a rum shop last week and decided to form a party and come and offer ourselves. We are standing on this ground in Woodford Square in our 60th year. 60 years of service to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And there are many who could not last 6 days, but they like to wash them out on the PNM. But let them talk. While they talk, we walk to victory on September 7th. Today, we presented to you some of the most experienced parliamentarians in Trinidad and Tobago as part of the PNM team. And with them, a large body of highly qualified and well-prepared young people in whom this country has invested and who have come forward now to give you a dividend on that investment. They are prepared to serve in the public arena. Young ladies, young men, you saw them today and you'll be seeing them in the campaign and then you'll see them after serving you. And you know how they came to you? Not by any negotiation and horse trading. They came to you through a political party that has a rigorous screening process as part of its constitution. And in recent times, we amended that constitution and took away the veto of the political leader, removing the personalization of selection and giving that responsibility to a dozen officers in the party who sit on that committee in their own right on the basis of holding the relevant office in the party. So our screening process was a rigorous one of which we are justly proud. But cast your mind back. When we were screening and selecting our candidates since last year, September, and putting them out to the field to be known to you, to come and ask for your support, to learn about their districts, and to come and say, I am the PNM candidate. There were those who were interfering in PNM business and crying long tears for who didn't get picked and who didn't get picked. And what we said, stay out of PNM business. Focus on your own calamities. And when it was their turn, they got stage fright, afraid to name their candidates. And even as our 41 candidates were out there in the 41 constituencies, striding confidently across Trinidad and Tobago and offering to serve you on the strength of Dr. Williams' party, grounded in 1956, and our political documents that say we are the party that is not an ordinary party in the narrow sense of the word, but that we are a rally for all, cutting across race, color, creed, and class, united for the common good. That's what our candidates can say to you everywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. But they couldn't respond. When they respond in pieces. And you get some candidates 1 week. And 1 week later you're hearing they're not the real candidates. And you had people who print jerseys because they were promised the candidacy. And then you have a prime minister who spent 5 years in office telling you, wasting your time, disturbing your earpiece. I will keep the coalition together. I give you the assurance. Well, you know when she gives you an assurance that his son is going to be reigned. And when she gives you an assurance that it is the truth, that it is not. So when she said to you, I give you the assurance that I will hold the coalition together, you know what that meant? It meant that the coalition has spawned 6 other political parties. Go to Tobago. They have 3 or 4 of them up there, including one called Watson Dew. Whole party by himself. Forwards, backwards, top, bottom, all of them out of the coalition. And then in Trinidad, when the COP died of its own embarrassment, they created a party that lasted exactly 1 week. 1 week. How do we of the PNM view a party that lasts 1 week? Unfortunate, isn't it? And then today they're still telling you that we of the PNM, we're going to be fighting the PP. And then they hold up to you NJAC. NJAC is still there, you know, eating a food. Hold up to you top. I thought we had finished that in Tobago. Top in Tobago died in the face of other people, but they're holding up top on a magazine to you about party. And the insult of all insults, they're holding up Prakash Ramada as COP. I say to you today, the fight in Trinidad and Tobago in this election, whatever they call themselves, however they disguise themselves, the fight is the PNM versus the UNC and their proxies. No greater embarrassment has ever been suffered by any political party and any supporters of any party than to have your leader announce a man for Tunapuna. And when the PNM engaged him in 1 week, somebody else changed him and put in a candidate. So we now know who. If you had any doubt why the COP was supporting the UNC all along in all its wrongdoing, you now have the proof that the COP under Prakash Ramada was always the UNC. Always. It's now wide up for all of us to see. And as long as Prakash gets his seat in St. Augustine, he ain't care what happened anywhere else. But I'm saying to the people of St. Augustine tonight, why must Prakash feel that he owns your vote? Because you are helpless to get rid of him. A man in that position who makes a deal like that and sold out his party, you have no right voting to send him anywhere. So St. Augustine, of all 41 constituencies, I'm appealing to you. You have an option. You have an option to vote. You have an option to vote for Alicia Romano, the PNM's candidate. You can't say you don't have an option. You can't say you have no option. And they are the same people who say that they are PNM people who vote diehards. Yes, you are diehards because you live well under the PNM. And when you support the PNM, you know you're supporting something that can be sustained. Why is the UNC afraid to show themselves? Why are they ashamed of their party name and their party symbol? Why are they annoying you on your radio, on your television, and the newspapers about Kamlan, Kamlan, Kamlan? How many seats is she fighting? But she's telling you now, you elect her back into office, and it's a one-man wrecking crew, a one-man cabal. But Trinidad and Tobago can do better than that. In the organized way of the PNM, we set about to examine all governmental activities, examine all our previous policies, and we took 3 years to do that. And when it was time to prepare a manifesto, our party's committee preparing the manifesto under Colum Imbert, who is going to be the next member of parliament for Diego Martin Northeast. We prepared 2 documents, a shortened version of our manifesto, which is currently at the printers because it was approved, because it had to be approved by the party in convention of delegates, which met this morning at City Hall, and the PNM delegates received the manifesto, examined its contents, approved it, and is now authorized to go forward to be printed as a manifesto that binds the PNM. That is how our party conducts political business in this country. And of course, we are going to place the full-length manifesto on the internet, on our website. So all those who want policy, who didn't know what PNM policy is, and that we had no policy, if you want to read it, it's going to be on the website in a matter of hours. And it will be in hard copy form, in a limited edition, in a matter of hours. We have a manifesto committing us as a contract between us and the people of Trinidad and Tobago. What can the others say? What can they say? Try to fool you. Imagine a party that objected to public housing construction under the PNM is now saying to you as part of their commitment, after they borrowed the name from Subway, 20 for plenty. Borrow that from Subway and telling you about 20 pledges. And one of the pledges they're making is that a home for every family. Now, what government wants to be taken seriously and promises from the government a home for every family? But then, that is the same government that came in 2010 and met thousands of houses there ready for distribution and did not distribute them. They met thousands of houses halfway finished, three-quarter way finished, quarter way finished, did absolutely nothing except to hold them there until the election of 2015. While you were desperate for that home, you know what they were doing? They locked up the houses there, and they were paying selected people known only to them to go and clean them on a regular basis and to secure them on a regular basis. And that action cost you, the taxpayers, millions of dollars. I hear the Attorney General wrote me a letter. I want to tell him now, write me another one. Because while the houses were locked up, and you were desperate in need, and they were having cobweb and paying people to clean it while they're locked up there, among the people who were paid thousands and millions of dollars to clean them is a particular woman who has a problem with me. And I never know she had a problem until she told you. Paid millions of dollars from HDC to clean houses that you should have been in cleaning yourself. That's how they run the country. So when you see them doing things, it's nothing for free. They all find all kind of devious mechanisms to enrich themselves. And come 2015, when it's all said and done, they want to tell you the issue is Keith Rowley. I'm the problem. You know why? Because I am your solution. You see, I want to say a few things to you from our manifesto pledge. The longer text goes into details about virtually everything you can think of that the government should be focusing on. But the government can't be all things to all men, but it must be something to all of us. So, let me just give you a few highlights of some of the specific actions that we will take. Not simply policy, but actions. You see, after the 5 years of this government, where we got what we never expected, we have in existence now a code of ethics in the parliament that has no force of law. And there are no consequences for members of parliament who violate that code of ethics. And why should you have to take a member of parliament to court to have law enforced against a member of parliament? A member of parliament should be a person who is working for you at your request. And if you are dissatisfied with that person, you don't have to beg them to get rid of them. What you have to do is to put in place in the parliament a code of ethics where if such a member of parliament is found by the parliament itself to have violated that code, the parliament could evict such a person. So the first thing we are going to do is to introduce and enforce a code of ethical conduct for all members of parliament to restore integrity and morality in public life in Trinidad and Tobago. We're starting with that. And listen, I received a letter recently from the Integrity Commission. It wasn't a letter about the 2 Range Rovers with the same chassis. That one, I haven't received the letter yet. But I received a letter from the Integrity Commission that says that when the UNC gave white glasses boy, what's his name? Ian Allen. When the UNC gave Ian Allen 20 public projects to go and campaign in St. Joseph, using taxpayers' money to run a campaign in the St. Joseph by-election. When a government does that, the Integrity Commission writes me and says, we find nothing wrong with that, nothing to investigate there. And when the government can't defend itself because it gave a contractor $400 million more than the contractor should have got on the Beetham Water Treatment Plant, and we provided all the documentation to the Integrity Commission, saying that these are the documents, this is what has happened. I received a letter a few days ago from the Commission saying that in the face of all of that, I have not provided them with enough information for them to start an investigation. Let me repeat that. Not that they have investigated it and determined that nothing was wrong, you know. They flatly refused to investigate the complaint, where I, as opposition leader active on your behalf, provide them with documents where $400 million of your money went into the wrong pocket. So what they're saying to me and to you, unless you on your own could investigate the matter and provide them with unrefutable proof that something went awry, the Integrity Commission has no interest in the matter. Now, if that is what the Integrity Commission is, then we don't need an Integrity Commission. So what we will do is to reform the Integrity Commission to create an offense of unjust enrichment, to deal with those who steal from the public purse, and to do it in a way that does not involve those who commit the offense having the upper hand on you. What exists now clearly is not working. In fact, it is having the effect of driving people away from public service. We will reform the Integrity Commission. We will open discussions with the relevant trade unions to allay all their fears, to treat with all their concerns, and we will proceed to implement a revenue authority to ensure that the collection of taxes due to the state is improved and become more efficient and effective. A revenue authority for Trinidad and Tobago. And with all this money we're spending, that we have to wait long after to hear who did what happened to it, what was going wrong, but to hear long after the horse has bolted. We're going to change that. We will introduce into the public administration of Trinidad and Tobago the establishment under law of a General Accounting Office. And what that will do, over and above the audit functions of the Auditor General, the General Accounting Office will be a supervising body, supervising expenditure and conduct of expenditure as it is happening in the various ministries and all state bodies. So real-time management, real-time observations, and they will have the power to take action where wrongdoing is discerned. We will put that in place. We will amend the relevant laws so as to make the budgeting process an ongoing exercise. We'll hire the relevant competent staff to be continuously monitoring and adjusting the budget so that when it is time for the budget to come to the Parliament, it doesn't come as an output from 8 or 10 people or a handful of cabinet ministers, half of whom didn't read the documents and the other half don't know what they read. It will come from professionals who would have been overseeing the process. So when the government comes to the Parliament and makes a request for an allocation, the government would have justified it on the basis of current information put before the Parliament through the government by way of a budgeting process that is ongoing. This creates the opening to make full use of the talents of some of our young people who are very highly trained in accounts, in auditing and other skills. And what this will do, it will improve the efficiency of the management of our financial affairs. It will improve the central bank's operations. It will improve the Ministry of Finance operations. It will improve every ministry's efficiency. So we're not talking about putting man on the moon. We're talking about making these kinds of changes for the effects that we know they will bring. That is why you're going to the polls on September 7th, voting not for this man or that woman, but voting to bring about better and improved management in Trinidad and Tobago. We will establish an economic development board staffed by the best available skills, which may not only be in the government, but wherever the skills are, in Trinidad and Tobago and even from the diaspora. I am sure that there are people in New York, Trinidad and Tobago citizens, who have skills available to us who can serve on a board like that. And what we will do is to have this board that ensures that there is proper medium-term and long-term economic planning instead of government by VAPs and election cycle budgeting and planning. So when the country goes on a course of development, it goes there based on sound technical and professional advice. We will do that as a matter of urgency. And that Economic Development Board will work side by side with the tripartite arrangement between labor, government, and the trade union movement to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago, as a body of people, we are performing to the best of our ability. This pulling and tugging in Trinidad and Tobago has to stop. This consistent fight that is sapping our energy and making us feel that we are we and they are they, that has to end. We are all one people with one purpose in one country. And it's time we get our act together. I said to you before, there's nothing wrong with feeling that God is a Trini, but listen to his loud, clear voice. Trinidad and Tobago, get your act together. And the next government is going to be a PNM government, will take the lead in ensuring that our nation gets its act together. With respect to security in our communities, we are going to discontinue this operation of community comfort police running up and down your streets. And we are going to use probably the same people, I don't know, but you, your own people. Every municipal body and the Tobago House of Assembly will be required to establish a local constabulary of 100 police officers structured under the level of a superintendent and downwards to constables. And in recruiting those persons, for the first time, we're going to recruit them based on their proper preparation and character to enter that kind of service. We don't want no police being afraid of police. We'll bring, by our selection process, a high quality. And those persons who are going to enter will have to agree from day one to be examined periodically to ensure that they are in fact trustworthy, and we want to build back trust in the police service. And I'm talking here about proper examination, so that when the community sees that uniform, when a child sees that uniform, when an old lady sees that uniform, they must know that they're in the hands and the presence of the best of character in Trinidad and Tobago. Starting with 100 officers in every municipal body. That means we're talking about 1,400 additional police officers in Trinidad and Tobago. These are the ones who will walk the beat. These are the ones who will know who is misbehaving in the community. And when something happens, they will know who to look for. Go back to old-time policing, where the sergeant knew exactly what went on in his district. And more importantly, at the national level, the Minister of National Security, working together with the Commissioner of Police, will ensure that the police officers who are in charge of districts will have to come before the people of Trinidad and Tobago under the auspices of the Commissioner of Police and tell us what is going on in your district. Because we are paying you to manage those districts. And when something happens, we want to hear from you. We're going to put an end to this nonsense where everything that goes on, you blame the Commissioner of Police and you blame the Minister of National Security. There are people in the system whose job it is, and we need to know if those jobs are being properly done. We're going to change the whole way we operate. And of course, the police service will get back its eyes and its ears, because we will put in place information gathering agencies to ensure that we identify who is doing what. And one more thing I'll tell you. This country has significant eavesdropping technical capacity. But it's being used by the current directorate to listen to all those who they want to listen to in the political arena, and not listening to those who threaten our security. When the PNM comes into office, those facilities will be used for the purpose for which they were obtained. Because we will have no interest in Munilal, in Kamla, in Sharma, and all their friends. Our interest will be in those who make crime a life. And unless they are involved in that, we'll have no interest in them. As a matter of fact, the people who can authorize eavesdropping in this country are few and far between on the law. Right now, I can tell you that the law is being broken with impunity because there are people who are more interested in their political opponents than those who walk around with the guns. That will change. That will change. So, when you vote for the PNM on September 7th, it would be your opportunity to do what you wanted to do when you had marched around from here to the President House in Section 34. You will be able to do what you couldn't do when you heard the Prime Minister, inexplicably up to this day, cannot and will not say why she appointed Reshmi Ramnarayan, a telephone operator, to head the Security Agency of Trinidad and Tobago. You couldn't do a thing about it on that day. When you found out that the Prime Minister had authorized the Attorney General to spend $400 million feeding lawyers, and you have nothing to show for it, you couldn't do a thing about it. But on September 7th, you could do everything about it. When you found out that the Solicitor General was so disturbed about alleged and potential criminal activity taking place from the prison towards the Attorney General's office, and try as she might, she could get no joy from those in charge of that office, and she wrote to the Prime Minister an unprecedented step where a senior public servant goes over her boss's head and writes to the Prime Minister and tells the Prime Minister there is potential criminal conduct within the corridors of administration. And what did the Prime Minister do? The Prime Minister sent the letter back to the Attorney General, and they did nothing. And what did the Solicitor General do? She did what all decent people will do. She resigned. She left the office and left it to the Prime Minister. But we, the PNM, and you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, you will not leave it to her. You will put her out of office on September 7th. This very development, which the Prime Minister treated in that way, is now the subject of criminal police investigations directed by the Director of Public Prosecution. But that has been the Prime Minister's style. When she first heard about live sport, she ignored it. And she encouraged Anil Roberts to be as boisterous, as obstreperous as he could have been, yes, obnoxious, encouraged by the Prime Minister. She elevated him to the position where, as Minister of Sport, she put him to replace the Minister of Energy and the Minister for Water Resources. When I came to Parliament with a motion questioning the $400 million loss at Beetham, and it's only when water was more than flour that he somehow, we're not even sure yet how he left, whether he resigned, whether he was fired, whether he went for free, but that is what they gave you. And now as the PNM outlines to you, a work program such that when a minister is appointed after September 7th, that minister would now be guided by well thought out policies and programs and know exactly what to do with his or her permanent secretary and the public servants. And that would result in the Prime Minister not having to change the cabinet every 9 months. When you are faced with that and you have the option to put that into office, the Prime Minister is bombarding you with Kamala has a plan. Yes, Kamala has a plan. The plan is to bankrupt the country. The plan is to destroy our economy. The plan is to hire all kind of people who don't deserve to be in certain positions and put them there with false papers to give you pain. As I speak to you now, anybody in this huge crowd here in Woodford Square ever knew at any time that any bank in this country had to say to you that we're not dealing in foreign exchange and putting something in place And hear it. When you got the shock of that news, that the largest bank in this country is making some worrisome changes in handling foreign exchange, you already knew that foreign exchange was hard to get. But by the next day you were hearing, no, it's not a suspension of foreign exchange, it's a tightening of the operations. Well, if it was bad before, and you're tightening it now, that not make it worse? Understand? If you had to do something because it was bad, and your action is a tightening of the operations, what exactly does that mean? But we will find out, because we will find out that the governor of the central bank will be pouring money into the system, trying to deal with that. But it's pouring out faster than ever, because you can't put a hose in a bucket with a hole and expect to fill the bucket. What is missing from all of this is confidence. The population has lost confidence in the central bank's ability to manage our foreign exchange management. The population has lost confidence in the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. The population, some people are losing confidence in themselves. And I'm saying to you here, keep hope alive. The PNM is on its way. The first thing that will happen on the night of September 7th, when the news comes through that the PNM has won a majority of seats, is that confidence will return to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Confident in the knowledge that the people that you have elected are well selected and people of good character, and that they come to serve and not to serve themselves through greed and avarice. Confident that whatever they do will be in your best interest, and most importantly, that they know what to do. So Woodford Square, Trinidad and Tobago, regardless of your race, your creed, how wealthy you are, your geographic location, let us as a people take this opportunity on September 7th to right the ship of state. And as I give a shout out to William Mackenzie in Tobago, and John Eckstein in Santa Rosa, and Errol Mahabia in San Fernando, and Hugh Francis in Carenage, and Jarrett Narayan out there in Aruca, I say to you, your PNM is on the march. Your PNM is ready. Victory is in sight. And come September 7th, on the night of September 7th, I will see a crowd like this, bigger than this, more agitated, saying to the people of the world, red is the PNM, red is the PNM, red is the PNM, and we have prevailed. And may God bless Trinidad and Tobago.